Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking some of the absolute most effective, science-backed strategies to finally bridge that frustrating gap between understanding English and actually speaking it with confidence. Look, if you've ever felt like you know the grammar, you've memorized the vocabulary, but then your mouth just completely freezes when it's time to talk, well, you're definitely in the right place.
So, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll cover the English fluency gap, then consistency over intensity, followed by solo practice techniques. After that, we'll get into building a daily routine, and finally, overcoming the fear of mistakes. Let's just dive right in.
Section 1. The English fluency gap. We really need to talk about a frustration that pretty much every single language learner on the planet has dealt with at some point.
Seriously, why do countless hours of cramming grammar rules and vocab lists so often lead to a total blank stare when a real conversation actually starts? You study for years, right? But the second someone asks you a super simple question, your brain just completely stops working. Why on earth does that happen?
Well, the crucial point is right here. Passive consumption, things like silent reading, watching videos, or just listening, it gives you this illusion of progress. But passive learning only builds comprehension. Speaking builds speaking. Our sources highlight that they're quite literally two completely different muscles. Think about it. You can't train your legs by doing bicep curls, right? It's the exact same concept here. You cannot train your mouth to form English sounds at a conversational pace just by staring at a textbook.
Moving on to Section 2. Consistency over intensity. To fix this gap, we've got to completely shift how we view language learning. We need to ditch those grueling, exhausting study sessions for something way more manageable. The massive shift we need to make is moving away from cramming for 5 hours on a Sunday to doing just 15 to 30 minutes of active speaking every single day. That short daily practice is significantly better for your memory and your confidence. Doing a little bit every day keeps your brain fresh. You don't burn out, and you actually give your brain that crucial sleep cycle consolidation it desperately needs between sessions.
I love this quote because it captures the whole transition perfectly. Learning a language is similar to learning how to ride a bicycle. You have to get on the bicycle and practice. You can read 100 manuals on how to balance on 2 wheels, but until you physically pedal, you're going to fall over. Language is exactly the same. It's a physical skill just as much as it is a mental one.
Section 3. Solo practice techniques. So how do we actually pedal this bicycle? Let's explore how you can actively train these speaking muscles totally on your own, right from your living room. Our sources point out a handful of highly effective solo techniques you can do at home, no classroom or tutor required. We're going to break down some of the most powerful ones right now so you can start using them literally today.
First up is shadowing. This is an absolutely incredible tool. Basically, you pick a video or a podcast and you just repeat what the speaker says, word for word, in real time, lagging about half a second behind them. Why is it so good? Because it trains your mouth to form English sounds at a native speed without the huge cognitive load of having to invent the sentences yourself. You bypass that internal translation delay and just get completely used to the physical rhythm of the language. Next up, the 60-second topic rule. Pick a topic, like, what you did last weekend. Set a timer for 60 seconds and just speak out loud. The absolute golden rule here is do not stop and do not correct yourself mid-sentence. This trains your brain to prioritize forward motion over perfection. Real conversations punish hesitation way more than they punish a tiny grammar slip. If you stumble, you just push through. Also, utilizing basic question frameworks, like what time do you go to bed or where would you like to travel next, lets you efficiently practice forming complete thoughts. Using sentence starters gives you a massive shortcut. Instead of freezing up trying to find the perfect word, you have a pre-built foundation, which lets you focus entirely on just building those fast conversational reflexes. Section 4. Building a daily routine. Knowing these techniques is awesome, but it's really only half the battle. The real magic happens when you weave them seamlessly into your daily life. Let's look at the story of Elisa, a university language student from our source material. Her routine shows just how simple it is to build a habit. At 6:30 a.m., she wakes up and speaks positively out loud to herself. At 7:30, she listens to English audio while walking to the bus. At 5:30 p.m., she writes a quick paragraph summarizing her day. See what she's doing? She's attaching language practice to existing daily actions. It doesn't take extra hours out of her day, it just requires a little bit of intention.
Which brings us to a brilliantly simple technique: self-narration. Speak out loud about what you're doing, right as you're doing it. If you're washing dishes, literally tell yourself, "I'm washing the plates with warm water." If you're chopping veggies, narrate the process.
It fills up that idle time when your brain is usually just wandering in your native tongue. This can easily add 30 to 60 minutes of actual speaking practice to your day without changing your schedule at all.
These daily habits are the absolute foundation of a real improvement plan. And notice the focus here. Learn complete phrases, not just isolated words. So instead of just memorizing the word busy, learn to say, "I'm really busy today." Try to catch yourself thinking in your native language and mentally translate it to English. Oh, and record yourself speaking for 1 minute a week so you can actually hear your own progress. These habits force you to produce the language rather than just passively receiving it.
Section 5. Overcoming fear of mistakes. For our final section, we absolutely have to address the psychological barrier that stops most learners totally dead in their tracks, the fear of imperfection.
Notice how the language you use with yourself changes literally everything. If you make a mistake and immediately tell yourself, I'm failing, your body physically feels heavy. You trigger a freeze response. But if you gently reframe that and say, hey, I'm learning slowly, you create a sense of calmness. The situation hasn't changed, but that kind language keeps you moving forward. We really have to stop being so incredibly strict with ourselves.
Here is the crucial takeaway. Perfection is not the goal, communication is the goal. You have to realize that even native speakers make mistakes all the time. We stumble, we use the wrong tense, we completely forget words. But we don't stop talking, because the priority is connecting with the other person, not having perfectly flawless grammar.
To successfully cross that fluency gap, you've got to actively avoid these super common pitfalls. Don't rely on pure listening without ever speaking back. Don't rely on just silent reading. And definitely, whatever you do, do not wait to be perfect before you start talking. Because, spoiler alert, that perfect moment is never going to arrive. These traps just give you a false sense of progress and keep you firmly stuck in your comfort zone. As our sources brilliantly point out, fear makes you hide, avoid, and give up. Kind thinking makes you stay, try again, and continue. Real progress requires an environment of safety. And since you're practicing solo, you are your own teacher. You have to create that safety inside your own mind by reframing your mistakes as necessary, totally unavoidable steps for your growth. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one big question. Are you going to keep waiting for that perfect moment that never comes? Or will you choose to just speak out loud today? What small, totally imperfect step can you take right now, maybe just describing the room you're sitting in, to move from being a passive learner to an active, confident speaker? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.